Hello, this is Lady Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have something very exciting to test with you that I purchased again from Dollarama. All of my stuff basically comes from Dollarama. And this kit is a crochet kit. It's to make your own panda. What I'm going to be looking at in this kit is if the instructions are beginner friendly, user friendly, if all of the materials included makes a panda. Don't forget to watch till the end to see the final results. Let's get crocheting. Let's take a look at this Crochet Your Own Panda that I purchased from Dollarama. The cost for this is $4.25. It's from Castle Craft and it makes just one panda. And it's 100% polyester. So according to the box, we do get the yarn we need, stuffing, crochet needle, and crochet hook. So let's open the box and check this further. I believe we should also be getting a guide. Here's our guide. Okay, that's all. Okay, so we've got 5 colored yarn, our stuffing. I was looking for this, so this is our crochet hook and our needle. I will be using this crochet hook, but I really don't like it because it's very flexible, but I will be using it. And also you've got your needle. Now, this is the guide. Let's take a look. So this looks a little bit different than from what I'm used to as for instructions. First thing, it does show you how to do a magic ring. This is very handy to know because you can use this on any project. I've never seen instructions like this before. After looking at these instructions carefully, I can tell you this about this kit. It is not for beginners. The panda is not hard to do. It's not hard to crochet. The difficulties are the instructions. I found a problem with the instructions and the explanation on how to do the type of mesh. This mesh instruction, there is a problem. It's good up till this point. Here, you have to pull through the 2 loops on your crochet, not just one as the instructions shows. What they call the simple chopsticks, that's fine. The double crochet, that's okay. Let's talk about understanding how to create this pattern, how to read these instructions. Not everything is explained in details. This video could be a little bit long. I do apologize, but I will try my best to explain how this works. I will be using a stitch marker. This stitch marker is placed on the last mesh that you do in a row. This is to make sure you know where you're at. If you need to undo something, then you know that where this is on the last stitch of the previous row that you were working on. We're going to start with the head. What it tells us to do is it tells us to do a magic ring. The magic ring is explained on the other side of the paper and it's explained perfectly. Let's do that. You grab your working yarn, turn twice around your finger, take your crochet under the first 2 loops, grab your working yarn, pull, go grab your working yarn again and pull through the loop. And this is where you're going to be ready to do your 6 single crochet. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So once that is done, you take this strand and you pull it. And that will tighten your loop. So this means you should have 6, if you count, you have 6 mesh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next step is to do a slip stitch, the first stitch that you created, and through the loop. And here is your first row. So your first row is completed. Now that your first row is completed, we're going to place your stitch marker on the last mesh that you did. So let's talk about our second row. So on the second row, it says you have to create 6 of the V pattern, which at the end will result in 12 mesh. So what's a V pattern? The V pattern is this. So if you follow, you have to create 2 single crochet in 1 mesh 6 times. So this is my first mesh. So to create a V pattern on this mesh, you do 2 single crochet in this same mesh. 1, 2, so that's a pattern. So we go to the next. 1, 2, and we do this up till we reach our marked 2. 1, 2. Oh, I made a little mistake. I remove it. Oh, I was able to save it. There we go. And then again, the next one. 1, 2, and then now we're up to our stitch marker. So where the stitch marker is, I'm going to do a V pattern. 1 and 2. Before removing the stitch marker, I will calculate how many mesh according to the pattern. I've got to have 12. So let's see. So if we start, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we did it. Remove my stitch marker. And now I'm going to place this on the last stitch that I just made. There we go. So this is our second row completed. So that was not too bad. So let's review the third row. So on the third row, in the same mesh, we have to do pattern X and then V 6 times. So this is where it can start getting a little bit complicated. So again, so what is our mesh pattern X? Let's review. So what does the X mean? So it means when you start, you have to skip a mesh and start on the second. This is the first thing you have to look at, and then you follow the rest of the instructions. Let's start our third row. It starts with an X. So you skip the first mesh, go into the second, followed by the V pattern, which is in the same mesh that you just did your X. So you go 1, 2. So your first pattern is completed. Now you have to do a second one. You have 6 of these. So again, you skip the next, and then you start on the second. And then you do your V. Second one done. Skip, then start your X again. And then V in the same mesh. Done. Go skip. Go to second. And then V. Now done. Skip. Now you do your X. So remember, pull, and then again. And then your V. Skip. Now we're at our last mesh. We know this is our last mesh because of the stitch marker. So we do this pattern one last time. So the X and then the V. So if we did this properly, if we look, our row, we should have 18 mesh. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we do have 18. So we did it correctly. Okay, so we will start with our fourth row. Before we do our fourth row, I just want to mention it is important to count the mesh each time you finish a row to make sure that you have the exact amount of mesh required. So this row number 4, this is where I had a little bit of issues because of the X. So this pattern is XVX, 6 times. Can be a little bit confusing because of the X, because you have to start with the second mesh, but not always the second mesh. Sometimes it means the next mesh. Let me just explain. Now, it starts with an X. We have to skip number 1 mesh and start 2. So let's do X. Okay, X done. Then we do V in the same mesh. Let's do our V. Okay, so this is where I got a bit confused because now we have to do an X. And I thought, oh, okay, so it does tell us when you start the X, you have to skip and then start on the second. But since this is in a pattern, it's not starting the pattern. You do not do the X on the same mesh as you were working the V. You have to go on to the next one, which is this one. So you do your X. And that's it. That's your pattern. Pattern number 1. You have to do it 6 times. Let's do that again. So this is 1. To start this pattern, skip 1, X in this mesh, followed by V in the same mesh. And to do the next X in the pattern, you go into this next mesh. And that's another pattern. Let's look at it again. So 6 times you go XVX. So 6. So skip this one, start the X, and then the V in the same mesh, and then the X in the next mesh. That's number 3. Let's do that again. Skip X, V in the same mesh, and then X in the next mesh. Again, skip V, skip then X, V in the same mesh, and then X in the next mesh. 2, and then our X on the next one, which is the mark one. This is our last stitch. And we're done. So again, our pattern shows that this row 4, we should be getting 24 mesh. If we count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we have it correct. So we will remove our marker and place it into the last mesh made on that row. So now we're up to row 5, is that you have to do in the pattern XXX and then V. This is what the 3 means. So you do XXX V pattern. Let's go ahead and do that. When we start with the X, you skip the mesh, start on the second mesh, which is an X. And then we have to do another X. You don't skip this one. You go to the next mesh. And then you go to the next mesh for the third X. After the third X, it tells you to do a V. So you do the V in the same mesh as your last X. And that is the row 5 pattern. So again, it's XXXV. And again, we have to do this 6 times. So when we start the pattern, we skip for X, next mesh for an X, next mesh for the X, and then same mesh to the V. So let's start the pattern again. Skip this mesh, start the X on the second mesh. Do the X on the next mesh. Do the third X on the next mesh. And then do the V in the same mesh that you did the last X. And then you continue. Skip. 1, 2, 3X, and then the V in the same. Skip, now 3X. 1, 2, 3, and the V in the same. Which is 1, 2, and then 3X, and then you finish off with the feet in the same mesh. So since we're at our stitch marker, this means that our row is complete. And then again, what you do is you need to have 30 mesh. You count, and if you have 30 mesh, then you move your stitch marker to the last mesh of the current row that you're doing. You do the rest of the patterns the same way. So right now, you can do these on your own up till row 15. On row 16, we add an A in the pattern. Do up to row 16. Rows 8 to 15, the X pattern, you must not skip a mesh. It starts with 42 mesh and it will end with 42 mesh each row. So you do not skip a mesh. Let's talk about row 16. We have a new letter. It's A. What this does, it reduces the amount of mesh on the next row. 2 mesh to 1 to reduce the amount of mesh. Let me just explain. We start with 5x, x 5 times, x, 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 x. Then we do A on the same mesh as the last x. We have to do 5x. So we skip the first one and we start 1. Go to the next mesh, 2. Next mesh, 3. Next mesh, 4. And then next mesh, 5. Now we need to do A. To do A, you use the same mesh as the X. You pull the working yarn, then go to the next mesh. Again, you pull the working yarn. Now you've got 3 loops. Pull the working yarn through the 3 hoops. And that's how you do a reduction. Let's do it again. 5x. Skip first and then you do go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5x. You do A, so you go into the same mesh as X, pull, the next mesh, pull, then you pull through all 3 hoops. Let's do that again. Skip to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For A, go in through the same mesh as X, pick up the working yarn, go to the next mesh, pick up the working yarn. Now you have 3 hoops, pick up the working yarn through all 3 hoops. And that's it. So you do that 6 times because it does say that you need to do this 6 times. 5, then you do the A, and then it brings up straight to our marker. So the next step is to count our mesh. So we're supposed to be getting 36. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So we're up to 36. So the next steps are to do the exact same thing up to row 20. I don't see any problems. You just repeat what you've done before, so you know how to do everything that's on this page, except for when you're done. Once you're done the last row, you have to cut your yarn, and it does show you on this page, follow this instruction, how to cut and secure your yarn. So once the head is done, we will continue on the body. The body has 2 colors. You start with the white and then you change the gray. Except for the changing colors, everything that's on here, the magic ring, and all of the stitches, the patterns are all the same. So once I'm at that point, I will come back and I will show you how to switch colors. Once your head is complete, you can stuff it. So that's what I did. I stuffed it. And then next is the body. Now, the body is done the exact same way. The only thing is that you do have a second color starting from row 12. So I'm going to show you how I add color. Currently, this is what you have. Instead of crocheting with this white, what I do is I just add the gray. Okay, I'm going to hold the gray yarn, and then I'm going to start the pattern with this yarn. So right now, row 12, it says 3xa, 3x, 3 times, and this is what I'm going to do. So we need to skip 1. 2, 3, then A, then again another 3, and that's how you continue with your gray. So once I'm done with all 3 rows of gray, I come back and I just pull on this thread, make sure it's tight. I also pull on this one, and I'm going to thread this into the body. This is the same thing. I'm just going to cut it and thread a portion into the body so it does not unravel. And there you go. So this is how you add color. I did run out of the gray yarn, and then I wanted to finish it with the white yarn. I did run out of the white yarn, and this is not good. There is not enough yarn to complete this. Now, if we talk about the hands I completed, just follow the instructions. It's done the same as the head. So these are the arms stuffed. And then the legs, I did do the legs. 2 rows missing, row 8 and row 9. To do the row 8 and 9, you have to do 13x, both rows. Next is the ears. Now, there's a problem with this. If you look closely at the pattern, row 4 will be this, and row 5 and 6 will be 10x. Then you've got the mouth. The mouth is this. So since I no longer have black, I cannot do the nose like here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using this to complete the nose. I purchased this for $4 at Dollarama. I've got different colors, so this black I will use for the nose. The eyes. There was an issue with the eyes. Here it says to make a foundation of 4 stitches. Actually, you have to do 6, which you wind up with 5 stitches. And then you can follow the rest on the instructions. The eyes. And then when you attach the eyes, you use the pink yarn. Next, the tail. The tail I did not make because I do not have any more gray yarn. Here it says body, but actually it's more like a sweater. I didn't follow this. This did not make sense. I created my own. It's 2 colors, and this is what I made. In the description, I will put in details exactly how I did this. So you've got your neck, and then both arms goes in here. And then for the rest of the instructions, you just need to join all of the pieces together, and that should make your panda. So this is the finished product. I didn't do the tail. I have nothing good to say about this. Let's start with the pattern. The pattern is not the best. It's hard to read. Lots of mistakes. The pattern's not worth it. I'm not going to keep this. The yarn. I ran out of yarn. I ran out of white yarn. I ran out of black yarn. I ran out of gray yarn. I couldn't complete the way that it was supposed to be completed. The stuffing, I did not have enough. The head should have had more stuffing. the nose and mouth, I didn't stuff it because I did not have any more. And the body should have been a little bit bigger. Here the eye, I maybe missed the eye. I don't know. I don't like it. I've done stuffed animals before. This is not beginner friendly at all. Is this worth the price? No, I will not buy this again. This is not something that I enjoyed. A lot of things at Dollarama are good, but this is not good. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourself a good day. Take care. See you in the next video.